Kerry, it's budgets, 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 isn't it?
It is, yeah, especially for our dairy farmer guys out there. Obviously had the bad news that they're going into a second tough season with the low payout, and that is quite devastating news for a lot of them. They were hopeful that it was going to go up a bit. It's not going to head that way. We're going to have price volatility for a long time. Makes budgeting hard, but it's time to sit down and actually really have a good look at what we've been doing. We've been saying it for a while and doing it with our guys, but now it's really come crunch time. This is the season that will make or break most people.
So no carpets being lifted and things being swept under them.
No, you've got to bring it all out, and it's actually bringing in a lot more people as well. We've been saying bring your farm advisor, your accountant, your banker. We're saying let's bring that circle even wider, not just from a business point of view, but also from a personal point of view. These farmers are starting to get fairly stressed out there, and we've seen one or two, the cracks are just starting to show. So we're saying bringing in some other people even personally to just help you out. But business-wise, you've got to look at your fertiliser people, get all those sort of tests done. What can you do to sort of minimise costs, that sort of thing.
How hard is it for a farmer or a share milker to actually bite the bullet when they themselves can't see anything? Because no more debt loading.
Yeah, there'll be a crunch time where they have to do it. We've been working pretty hard on our guys, and it's taken them a while to actually get the realisation, yep, it's time to do something. We can't carry on like we've been doing. We've got to change our attitude and approach to things. And it's just time, but with the second tough season for dairy guys, most of them are starting to think, right, we need to change our ways and front up to the issues that we're facing. The banks are going to force them eventually because they're only going to go so far with their load they're carrying.
It's interesting that if you really, really don't want to do something and you keep putting it off, when you do it, you feel about 6 inches taller.
Oh yeah, it's a big relief because you get it all off your chest. You've got people that are there willing to help you. And you're not on your own, and that's the realisation for a lot of them, that they feel like, they've got to go out there and keep producing the milk and that sort of thing, but you're not on your own. There's other people in behind the scenes that want to help you and make you succeed. That's what we're there for. We want to see you flourish.
And the banks don't want to call their loans in, they want to keep you going.
Oh yeah, the banks definitely want to work with them. They have got constraints to work within, but they are being bent and sort of broken everywhere right now to make sure these guys stay on the property. They don't want to force you off, because that's bad publicity for them.
Well, apart from that, they lose a whole lot of money. Nobody wins.
Exactly, and then if they do force you off, who's going to buy the farm? Then it gets into all sort of overseas ownership issues and that sort of thing, which the banks don't want to see to be encouraging. So they want to keep the farmer on that property if they can.
So there is light at the end of a tunnel if you call in your accountant. Yep. You're saying your banker,
farm advisor, your banker.
Do you all sit in the same room at the same time?
Most of the time we do. I have been with the ones that I've been working with. Others, sometimes they can't get there, so they might be on the phone if you need to get them. It just depends on the availability of everybody, but ideally you want them there at the same time, because then everyone can come to a common plan, all bring their ideas in. Everyone's got different ideas and approaches, so it's better to have them all in one go than sort of piecemeal, and you change as you go and may not be quite as effective as what you want.
So somebody sitting there at the moment and they think that they're up to their snorkel level.
Yep.
And they're going to lose $100,000 in the next 2 years for 2 years running. So that's, say, $250,000 that they're going to have to service. We come back to interest rates, don't we?
Yes, we do. And we're getting a lot of questions right now about whether they should be fixed, floating, where they're going, up, down. And the answer is it depends on, in terms of fixed or floating, what your circumstances are. We've got an announcement coming out shortly from the Reserve Bank about what they think the OCA rate will be. They're in a really tough place.
The Reserve Bankers?
Yep. If they drop the rate, which is what everyone's expecting, the Auckland property market's going to take off again. And so we're going to have a big issue up there. House affordability's gone anyway, but they'll make it even worse.
Well, the average price is $750,000 at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and it's interesting, people are moving out of Auckland, and I can't blame them. The neat thing about Auckland is the airport, you can leave from there.
Exactly, but there's a lot of lifestyle blocks being sort of carved up now out that way. But the Reserve Bank also dropped the rate. They're also going to be sort of affecting the dollar, which is not going to help people. There's also the fact that if they keep going the way they are, the economy may stall, or we may have sort of de-inflationary pressures. So they've got to do something. It's just a matter of timing. But there will be some cut in the next, we suspect, 6 to 9 months. And that's what a lot of the lead economists are saying. They expect it to come back a little bit. We've had increases that were a bit over the top, and now it's time for the bank to front up and say, look, we did get it slightly wrong. The dairy's that's almost a bust in their eyes from the bank's point of view with the big hole that's left in the economy. So they've got to cut some rates to sort of get things going again. But they've got that Auckland property just sitting in the background that will be the killer.
Because, quite frankly, a dairy farmer or share milker is just going to say, well, I couldn't give a tinkers about Auckland.
True.
And Auckland is saying they couldn't give a tinkers about the dairy farmers.
This is true, but this is part of the way our economy works. One part is affected by another. So the bank have got to consider all aspects of the economy. They obviously, for Reserve Bank, it'd be ideal for them to get in there, cut the rate, and help our dairy farmers and other farmers, in the drought regions, because they get cheaper interest rates. But then it will cause further problems elsewhere in the economy, and could even cause inflationary pressures, that sort of thing, which will then put prices up. And then our guys that are on the farm have to pay a bit more when they can't afford it.
Yeah, I think last time you and I had a chat, you were talking about IRD, and of course you'll be selling capital stock.
Yes.
At the at the bottom of the market, you're going to have to buy at the top. IRD will be looking very helpfully, or looking hopefully at dairy farming and seeing what they can do to release the pressure.
They've got they've mainly just sort of at the moment looked at the drought affected farmers. They haven't done anything about the dairy farmers and whether they're selling capital stock or not to get through. They haven't been so gracious. But
because people are
selling. Yeah, they are, and I think the pressures will come on as more and more farmers face this reality. I think the government ministers will have to sit down and say, look, what can we do to help, and then give a directive to IRD to free up some sort of relief for them, because they just can't afford to have the tax bill coming their way.
I mean, that seriously is one of the problems, isn't it? And that's where they talk to you. And
Yes.
I guess that you,
Yep.
I mean, I know that I've talked to you about things and you've said, don't worry, Rob, I'll fix that. And you do.
Yeah, that's our job as the accountant. We should be there helping out where we can, giving their guidance.
Taking that load off me.
Yep, and if we know before you go and do anything, we can make it even easier. Afterwards, there can be some things can be done, but if you're up front and say, look, I'm planning on selling, 250 cattle, what's the implications? We can say, well, this is what you're looking at, and we can put a strategy around it to help ease the load. But it is a matter of just actually making that phone call and talking to the accountant.
And if somebody rings you and says, look, I've got to the back of the silage pit already, I need to do such and such and such and such. They're buying at the top of the price range for
yeah, well then we'll try and find a strategy to get them through. We can put them in contact with people if they need to sort of get cheaper money, bank loans, whatever. Bring the right parties in to sort of work together to get them through.
Well, thank goodness you're there, buddy. Thank you very much indeed.